So thank you for joining us today at ClearlySo Sector Insights. We're talking with Hayley.collen and Letty.wheeler, who work in our responsible consumerism sector. They're going to be sharing some of their thoughts about what has happened in their sector during lockdown and giving some advice, and also telling us about some of the events they're looking forward to later this year. But I'll start first by letting them introduce themselves. So Hayley, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Hayley.collen. I've been at ClearlySo for coming up to 6 years. My background was in the big bad world of private equity, and a few years ago I saw the light to work with companies that have more purpose.
That's great, Hayley. Letty?
Sure, I'm Letty Wheeler. I'm an investment manager at ClearlySo. I've been with ClearlySo just over, almost 2 years actually. Before that I was working in private equity in the Middle East.
Thank you both. And with your combined backgrounds, you guys are a bit of a powerhouse within responsible consumerism at ClearlySo. But you also have a lot of insight from talking to clients over the last few months. So I'll start with Letty and ask, what changed for your sector during lockdown and what did you see?
It goes without saying there's obviously been an increased interest in kind of consumer focus online, and everyone's kind of shifted to buying online with lockdown and the pandemic. What's been really interesting, I think, is increased interest in brand kind of provenance and supply chains behind what companies are doing. This was happening before, but I've noticed there's been kind of increased interest there. And from our side, what we've seen is a real uptick in companies providing digital solutions around kind of authenticating supply chain and showcasing, ethical and transparent supply chains. So that's been really exciting to see.
And then in a more sort of here and now kind of way, obviously the food delivery businesses really took off during lockdown. We know that there was a huge amount of panic buying in the supermarkets, but also terrific demand for at-home deliveries of all sorts of food, from raw ingredients through to finished meals, because people didn't want to go out in the streets to run the risk of catching COVID. And so food delivery in all sorts has really become very popular during lockdown.
Yeah, and I think also to add there, alongside the winners in our sector with, food delivery, is at-home fitness. So it's been really interesting to see kind of how at-home fitness solutions have really kind of grown and seen a lot of consumer interest. And we really expect that to carry on as we emerge from this whole period.
That's really great. And I think that, like the other sectors, I think what you talked about around acceleration seems to be a common theme. Things that were already happening before lockdown saw some acceleration that was hastened by everyone being at home and changing the digital practices. So that's quite interesting. So as you've been talking to clients, different companies, investors, and sort of the wider ClearlySo stakeholder groups, what advice have you given the most in the last few weeks?
Firstly, that valuations from investors have taken a nosedive. Investors are becoming much more demanding, and it really is a buyer's market for the investors at the moment. We saw some slight downturn early on during lockdown because investors were looking at their existing investments, but they really are very active again now, but they are being much more demanding, and they are expecting companies to reduce their valuation expectations quite a lot.
I think just to add on from my side, something I've been really trying to kind of hammer home with clients that I've been speaking to is around managing expectations with timeline. So making sure they've got enough cash in the bank to kind of see them throughout the fundraising period. Some of the investors that we've spoken to have been asking for, as much as 12 months runway. So just kind of keeping an eye on that when they're planning when they're going to next fundraise has been really important.
Great. So as you're thinking about your sector from a different lens, if you were an investor in your sector, and I know you talk to a lot of them, but if you yourself were that investor, what would you be most excited about?
I think the sort of biggest thing, which is quite a macro thing to think about, is sensitivity about people. And these last few months, for all sorts of reasons, have really put the individual front and center in a lot of people's minds. And I think from our perspective, that means the consumer. And so, I think from an investor's point of view, they can see that there's terrific scope to invest in things that are really going to meet the needs of the consumer going forward.
And I think just to kind of add on to that, I think, that actually draws back to what I was saying before around, there being increased consumer kind of interrogation of the companies that they're buying from, and there's a sense that companies are more sensitive around what the consumer is looking for and really kind of proving their credentials to kind of appeal to them. And sustainability is obviously a key consumer theme this year and has been for the past few years.
So there's still time for investors to get on the bandwagon, so to speak. If they were to do so, I mean, what are the companies that you're talking to? Are there some common characteristics or some winning characteristics that you're seeing in your deal pipeline as you're talking to companies and getting to know them?
I think rather than there being kind of key characteristics, what Hayley and I really noticed and have found really useful when we've been identifying companies and looking for kind of impactful innovation is working with key partners. So that can be kind of industry partners or universities even, who are able to really kind of support our origination efforts and help us identify really impactful, exciting businesses in the consumer space.
It is giving the game away a little bit, but Letty and I do benefit hugely from working with our expert partners because they have the deep knowledge in each of our subsectors. So that can be fashion and food and plastics and innovation. And we greatly benefit from tapping into their knowledge and their networks to really help us accelerate our work and hopefully the work of the companies that they've found as well.
Without being too cheesy, it sounds like it takes a village in responsible consumerism.
And we're all happy to work together. We're not wildly competitive. We're all friends, and we're always open to making new friends. That's our advantage in this world. We're always happy to have more friends.
That's a fantastic outlook to have, and certainly I think something that ClearlySo has long been known for. So it's good to hear it's still going. For the two of you, I mean, I think that I wanted you guys to come today with some events that you were looking forward to after the summer, because I know that as things are opening up, especially, you know, in Europe, or sort of mainland Europe, where we do a lot of work and do have a lot of deal flow and work with investors, I asked you to bring along some events that you thought were exciting or that you were looking forward to attending, either in person or virtually coming up. So what did you bring with you?
So actually in Europe, yes, I'm really looking forward to the Ship to Be Impact Forum, which I attended last year, and is really kind of interesting from the perspective of seeing the developments in Spain on the impact investing front, and also to meet some really interesting businesses. Also kind of in Europe as well, Bloomer, which is an accelerator in Sweden, they had a demo day this year, which was really great in June. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that next year. And another one that's kind of more sector focused, Farfetch Dream Assembly, again had a very interesting demo day this year, which I'm excited to see what will happen next year. So that's mine.
And for me, I go back to food with the Food Bites pitch, which I think is a virtual online event which will happen on the 2nd of December and is always good quality, pulling together entrepreneurs from all around Europe.
Sounds like you guys are going to be busy in the coming months and beyond. So I just wanted to thank both of you, Letty and Hayley, for joining me today and for sharing your thoughts on your sector, what's happening, and some of the things that you're looking forward to. Your colleagues have also been sharing those in the other parts of the series, which is all available on our website. And we will also have the contact details for Hayley and for Letty underneath the video. And if you want to get in touch with them or learn more, or in fact pitch your business, then please get in touch. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Theresa.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon.